for the people who are new into pawpaws, which is typically what we're running into,
Mhm.
how do they get started with them? What's the best place for them to plant them?
Mhm.
And what can they expect in those first couple of years of growing?
Right. Well, pawpaw is unique that it's an understory tree out in the wild. It is pretty tolerant of shade, and but doesn't produce a lot of fruit in those kind of shaded, understory conditions. And so, really, the best way to grow pawpaw is where other fruit trees do well. And so, they're going to want to be out in full sun because that's where they're going to produce the most fruit. They can tolerate full sun even though they are an understory tree, and so they do need some shading, maybe until they're about a foot and a half tall. But they're good in full sun after that. Definitely, you don't want to plant them in an area where they're going to be flooded all the time. They like moisture. They like stream banks a lot. You'll see them in many areas around streams in Kentucky and throughout the Southeast, but they don't want to be flooded all the time or for long periods of time. And I guess another consideration is pawpaw flowers in April or so. Uh, after peaches, but kind of around the time of the red buds and in the southeast. And so that's a time, of course, where you're going to still have frosts, and oftentimes we're going to get those late April frosts, and so you don't want to plant down in a valley, right? Or as we would say in Kentucky, the holler, or whatever. Where you don't
Right.
want to go in a low area because cold air flows down hillsides and will accumulate in the low areas. And 28 Fahrenheit is kind of a critical temperature for pawpaw flowers. So if it goes any lower than that, they stop supercooling. They start forming crystals, and they kill the flower. So if it's maybe 29 or 30 on that hillside, might be 27 or 26 down at the bottom of the hill. That'll make
Right.
all the difference. So
So let's say that a frost comes in and we're above that 28-degree mark. Would you say that it would kind of be one of those sort of natural thinning processes that would take place? Like you're going to have some flower death, or do you think they kind of survive that pretty well as far as the flowers are concerned?
well, I think that's kind of why pawpaw really proliferates well by root suckers, right? It spreads very very rapidly, and my guess is that that's really the major kind of spreading method that's been selected for by the wild pawpaws by the creek beds. But for us when we're growing up in these orchards a little further up, we're gonna want to have full flowering if we can. We'd rather, pawpaw is hard to thin, and so it's one of those things, but it's also hard to get enough fruit to set on. So, it's kind of a catch 22 on that. But one interesting thing, of course, about pawpaw is that a tree will flower over an extended period of time. You'll have kind of a concentrated flowering maybe at the beginning for the first week, but then they'll continue to flower maybe for another 2 weeks for a limited number of flowers. So even if you get wiped out, at the beginning kind of that flowering period, you're still going to have a few flowers and have some fruit set.
Right, right. And I've definitely experienced that when I
Yeah.
was first growing them. They got hit pretty hard with the frost, which we're prone to late frost where I live in Northwest Arkansas.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I thought I lost all the fruit, and then, came out a couple days later, and it was happening all over again, and it was really exciting, and I thought that was really interesting
Yeah.
about pawpaws. There's not many fruit trees you get those, second and third chances on. So,
That's right.